Day one of the Prada Cup final is done and dusted. 2 wins to Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli over Ineos Team UK. It's first to 7 though, so still early stages in what could potentially go to 13 races. Oh my goodness, tomorrow is a new day. And just who will we see progress to be the challenger in the 36th edition of the America's Cup? My name's Nick Douglas. Lovely to have you with us. And our guest this evening is our amazing Tor, who's been on the ground for us in New Zealand. Oh, Tor, how you feeling?
Big day, big day. Obviously a little bit gutted, but yeah, still very positive. There's a lot of things to learn from today, and I still believe.
Yes, you should still believe. I just actually retweeted our Poppy video again, just to remember that it's about the America's Cup. But
yes,
you were in the village today. It looked absolutely crazy. I'm just going to find a picture if I can. This is the spectator crowd out on the water. It was massive. Massive. Yeah, I just shared a video on Facebook and Twitter from the America's Cup page of a time lapse of everybody coming home. It looks insane. And
so
in
cool.
the village.
Can you imagine what it's going to be like for the actual cup?
Oh, I can't even imagine. And the village, you were in the village. The crowds, it's just awesome for sailing if we're looking at it that way. So crazy. What did it feel like?
It was really cool. There's definitely more people around. There's a buzz around the place, and all the Kiwis are out loving it as well. And it's so close. It's only 2 weeks until the start.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's going to be over before we know it.
I know. It starts to go so fast at this point because you just see everybody get excited, involved, someone else goes home, and all of a sudden you're celebrating a winner. It's just nuts. The first week takes ages, and after that it flies. It's pretty crazy.
When we got here in September, it was like, oh, we're going to be here for ages, and then it takes a couple months to settle in, and then it was Christmas, and then now all of a sudden it's almost the America's Cup.
Far out.
Crazy.
Absolutely crazy. But today, 2 wins to Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli over Ineos Team UK. The first start was a little bit tricky. Ineos weren't on the foils. I mean, that speed differential essentially is what we can put that race down to. Just that start.
Oh, definitely. The wind, it was borderline at the start of that race, and I was actually speaking to some of the guys after the race, and they delayed it by 2 minutes for some wind, and if they delayed it by a few more minutes, it could have been a totally different race.
Yeah.
It was just that one moment coming down off the foils, and they got down to like 8-9 knots of boat speed, and then it just takes the time to get it back up. And I think the reason, because they came off the foils and they still had to turn around, didn't they? So they tacked over off the foils, which just killed them, and then had to try and take off again. And I think there was about 6 or 7 knots down there at that stage, but just the Italians managing just to stay on the foils, just obviously made that race.
Yeah, indeed. So let's have a little bit of a look at the recap, and then we'll talk about the stats and have a little bit of a look at the differences. But here's the race review from the first race today in the Prada Cup final. Lots of celebrations as everyone was docking out. We hadn't seen racing for 2 weeks in the village. As I mentioned, an amazing spectator crowd, not only in the village, but out on the water, and quite a bit of tension. We weren't sure what would happen. Into the start, there's Ineos, very sticky to windward, and Luna Rossa ran away with the start, and a penalty to Ineos as well from crossing the line early. They got stuck to windward of the line, essentially. Luna Rossa were not headed from there. And the fans in the village, definitely the party boat, the Luna Rossa supporters of the Italian spirit. But there wasn't too much difference really in the boat speed between the two once they got going and the breeze actually
We are very
filled
happy,
in.
obviously. One is done. And yeah, the next one will be a very different race, I think. The wind is increasing, and it's not just about stay on the foils, but it will be a different race for sure.
One boat could get off the foil and one couldn't, and that was the story. But yeah, it is what it is. We just got to do the best we can in the conditions and keep pushing.
And keep pushing, they will, no doubt, tomorrow. 2 more races to come. But yeah, I mean, a match race can be won and lost in the start. And
oh, for sure. And, you know, it's interesting, and looking back on both of the races, it's for Ineos, it's good because they can definitely like nail down what went wrong, and it's not as if they're gear failures or something like that. You know, that first race that they put the course out there today, because they knew it was going to be light, and they thought that's where they were going to get the most consistent wind. And out there, you don't get as much. As many wind shifts out there, and you know, it's less of a tactical game, and it is more of a boat speed game out there, and just turned, and yeah, the Luna Rossa got away, and there is no way they were going to catch up.
yeah, and basically then there's no passing lanes is what we say. So it's really hard to come from behind when the breeze is consistent and there's that much of a lead. So
yeah,
to
and
prove
so
that,
unless
no,
Luna Rossa had come off the foils, then that was the only way it was going to happen.
100%. And just to make you smile, Bev Barwick says, "Go be more Poppy." So she's watching.
Be more
which is
Poppy.
lovely. Exactly. But let's have a little bit of a look at the stats, because this explains it perfectly. I think this is race 1, and thanks to Fox Sports, that's where I'm watching on KO. But you can see the maximum speeds here. UK actually had a higher maximum speed in race 1, 41.49 knots to 40.07. The distance sailed, it's only, look at that, in metres. It's crazy.
Wow.
26,359. So Ineos actually sailed
7
a shorter
metres.
distance. Yeah, shorter distance, which was 26,352. It's 7 metres difference, which I love. That's amazing. And the downwind speed is really close. The upwind speed, little click maybe to Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli. More tacks, more jibes to Luna Rossa. So really, on paper, you know, that win usually would go to Ineos Team UK, apart from the fact that they had a start off the foils when you look at it that way.
Yeah, and they did. I think they touched down at another point, which we didn't actually see, because they were focusing on the Italians at that point. But I think they touched down again on the 5th leg or something. So, yeah, not good.
And
it's so weird.
Two
though.
penalties
yeah.
as well. 1 boundary, 1 start. So, yeah, we talk about unforced errors, and there's tennis going on down here. We've got the Australian Open at the moment. So, so yeah,
and then,
unforced errors.
I think possibly, you know, the smaller number of manoeuvres from Ineos, and also that boundary penalty, are just because they didn't want to do manoeuvres. They wanted to stay up on the foils, and they're happy, you know, happier to take the penalty than come down off the foils.
Yeah.
Because
Good point. But beautiful sailing by Luna Rossa, up on the foils, absolutely clinical, effectively stayed in loose cover positions, didn't split. It was beautiful racing to watch. So all credit to them. Not saying that they didn't say well when we're saying that the mistakes that Ineos made.
And
again,
clean. Like Bruni and Jimmy just looked so chilled, didn't they?
Oh, indeed. Absolutely. They were so chilled. And it was interesting too, the heart rates on board. Jimmy's was at 66. the whole time.
Mine was way higher than both of theirs.
So good. But gosh, they just sailed absolutely beautifully. So all credit to Luna Rossa. And as I said this morning, I actually wanted one win each way because I'm not biased. I'm Australian actually, and quite close with the Spittles, but then I know, but then I'm a bit biased to you now, Tor. So what am I meant to do? I've got Katie Spittle on the show tomorrow, so it's all a bit in the air for me. Yeah, be more poppy. I'm cheering for the America's Cup. I wanted one race each way, but we'll take 2 today and maybe 2 tomorrow for Ineos, but we'll see what happens. I'm happy to watch some great racing, and Luna Rossa sailed exceptionally well today, which might bring us to race 2, where it was actually a lot closer. So we might actually just go straight into the footage that we can see for race 2. So here we go.
Here for 30 seconds, guys.
This is the race committee. The wind sampling period is complete and this race is live.
So the wind sampling is to make sure they're on rule, and a great start. I actually think Luna Rossa triggered a little bit late, maybe 2 seconds late, but they lived beautifully to windward, tacked off, and when they came back with the starboard advantage, crossed Ineos, and they were never headed. Off they went and extended on every single leg, except one, I think.
Nice, boys. 5 to go.
Yeah, this was more of a race, like
yeah, it was a good day.
boat race.
I thought the boys are really well on board. Still, obviously, a few things I think we need to sharpen up on, but great job by the team. Boat was performing very, very well.
And the scores 2-0. Beautiful sailing by Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli. And tomorrow we'll have UK coming in from the port entry, and then Italy from the port entry. Ooh, I've got somebody saying in the Facebook feed, Lamberto Cesare, why are all English-speaking commentators biased towards Ineos? Gosh, I didn't think I was biased. Clearly, Tor is biased.
I am, and I kind of have to be.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry, Lamberto. Tomorrow we will have Katie on the show, and she's Luna Rossa biased. And I am very happily an Australian in the middle, cheering for the sport of sailing. So thank you, Lamberto, for your comment. I think you're wrong. So there. Right, back to the statistics. And I hope he was watching just so that he heard me say that too. And instead, he probably just tuned out when I said that Ineos have definite mistakes that they made, which is correct also. Let's look at the stats for race 2. Here we go. 26 seconds the difference, a lot better than 1 minute 23. So as you said, Tor, an actual boat race. So exciting to see that. There's the upwind speed. Italy was again a notch faster. Downwind speed, spot on. Identical downwind speeds. I love that. A bigger jib on Ineos for this race, so possibly why they were a bit quicker downwind and not as quick upwind with additional drag. Maximum speed went to Luna Rossa for that race, not to Ineos Team UK. Distance sailed, only a few metres in it again. 230 metres in it, not 7 like the first race. Same amount of tacks, 2 more jibes to Ineos, so you can there see clearly that win in more of a boat race went to Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli minus the start. But I do think Luna Rossa actually, you heard in the interview after the racing, if you watch the coverage, Jimmy said, you know, I think we made a few mistakes, or maybe that was the press conference. I think we made a few errors. He wasn't happy to divulge the errors, but I would say one is that start. They triggered a little bit late, so they could have done a bit better out of that start. And I think the second one was one of the matchups in the crosses probably could have held a tighter cover, but I mean, that's grasping at straws. They sailed absolutely beautifully. Yeah.
For me, there's 2 key points in that race for Ineos losing it, and that was wrong choice in jib, and then that massive duck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a big duck, a necessary one though, and we saw that in round robin 3. in that race where we saw the big duck from Luna Rossa as well. Not as much shouting from Sir Ben about trying to get through, but yeah, it was a clear port and starboard there. And when Luna Rossa came back on port, I actually thought it was a lot closer than it was. The telescopic lens makes it look so close, but it was about 100 metres in it when he came back from the left again. So that was interesting too. But I think we could have a boat race on our hands. Now the jibs. We were talking about this off air just before the start. So for those who are interested, a J1 to a J3 for Luna Rossa from race 1 to 2, and a J1 to a J2.5 for Ineos Team UK. So even that slight difference can make a speed differential like this one that we saw in the upwind. So that, I can't work that out exactly, but for 6.6 of a knot effectively upwind, could be as much as that. So who knows?
If not more, with the amount of drag in these big jibs, it is literally the difference between winning and losing, especially when it's getting that close.
Yeah,
if you're anything within about 30 seconds, I reckon, your sail calls are huge.
Indeed. So before we keep speculating on how this all works, let's hear from Ben Ainslie after the racing today, a little interview with him post-press conference. Here we go.
Well, ultimately we wanted to come out and get at least one win on day one of the finals, and we lost two races, so none of us are happy with that. The first race was a tricky one in the lighter airs, and our performance is something we've been struggling with. The second race was a much closer affair in medium wind conditions, but the Italians just did a slightly better job, and so they sailed well today. We've got to go away, think about what we can do to improve, and come out fighting harder tomorrow. I wasn't surprised at all. In terms of their speed, it was pretty much what I expected. We know that we've got a deficit to them in under 10 knots of breeze, and we know that we've got very even boats in over 12 knots of breeze. And that's what we saw. And, the difference today, I think, was it was a much steadier breeze than what we've raced against them previously. And so there really weren't that many passing lanes. So if one team gets ahead and they sail well, as they did, and they don't make any mistakes, you're not going to get past them. So, I think still a lot to play for. And certainly we hope we get some more wind, and we're going to have some great racing. It's very, very simple. We've just got to win races. We've still got to win 7 races. Nothing's changed in that respect. We know we're up against really tough competition. That was our expectation. That's what we saw today. But in a decent breeze, we've got the boat that can do it. So it's down to us. We've just got to go out, sail well, sail hard. I think get stuck in, and we can do it.
Get stuck in and win. That's what they've got to do. Same as any other day.
I like that. I like that. We've still got to win 7 races.
Nothing has changed.
Only have to win 5 now.
That's match racing. You can't win a regatta on the first day, but you can lose it.
Yeah.
But anything can happen and anything can change. So we all know that. And at the moment, Luna Rossa are the team to beat. And Ineos Team UK are no stranger to lifting. So we're exactly where we were this morning, Tor. We're exactly where we were.
Now's the time to lose 2 races, not when it's 5 all.
Exactly. So, we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I want to see it just be exciting. I'm cheering for good racing.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be more breeze tomorrow. So hopefully we'll have a course, below North Head or something, have some nice lanes and lead changes. That last race of the Ineos and Luna Rossa racing together in the round robin, do you remember how awesome that was? I think 9 lead changes.
9? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, amazing. Let's bring that back.
Hope for that. Yeah, exactly.
Although I don't know if my nerves can take it.
So good. Oh, fantastic. Let's look at, I have a picture here actually of just after the start in race 2. And so just to show everybody the difference in the jib sizes there, I thought we'd have a quick look at that, because that was one of the main differences in setup that we saw today. So I'm going to actually zoom right in on. You can see that jib is cut right down and a square top there. on board Luna Rossa. Something else we spotted today, and thank you to my followers for pointing this out. We have this, I'm just going to find your mic just to make sure you can keep talking. There you go. And yeah, so that's the difference in the jib. And then here on board Luna Rossa, we have seen this ridge pop up in between the cockpit and the piece on top of the actual cabin top. And we're wondering if that's for aerodynamics. So thank you to all of the adventurers who pointed those little details out to us. You can see that ridge just there, which has appeared since they raced in the in the semi-final against New York Yacht Club American Magic. So we found that quite interesting. So yeah, great. There's a few great photos by StudioBorlenghi where you can actually compare the boat shots too. So I might have to put them up so you can see them right next to each other. There's one shot where they're actually in identical positions. So I might put them up a little bit later for you all to see on Facebook and Instagram. So yeah, pretty awesome. And on that note, we might go straight to the interview with Bruni Keko. We will hear from him. He's very serious in this interview. You don't often see him so serious. Your mic is not working, which is very annoying. There you are. You're back.
I'm back.
Excellent. But yeah, he's not usually this serious. Check it out. I love it.
Oh.
Serious. He's down to business, Mr. Keko. I love it.
Yes, we are very happy with the boat today, the performance of the boat. We were a little bit nervous, to be fair, going into today's racing because Ineos was in the shed for a long time and we didn't know what was going to come out. Both boats made huge improvements and I keep repeating this, every week is an improvement for any boat. We know that. It's a matter of balancing the modifications in the shed and the time spent in the water to improve what you already have. And maybe up to today we proved that maybe time in the water was more important, but it could be very different tomorrow. It could be the other way around. So yeah, I think we did two good starts. The first one was really played in nothing because we were this close to drop the boat, this close, and they were already in the water. So I was very nervous at that moment. After that, when we had a good lead and the wind was increasing, we were sort of more relaxed because we knew that was going to be hard to drop off the foils. Second race was completely different, was 18, 19 knots. It's incredible here in New Zealand how you can have two races in 1 hour and have such different conditions. And I think I'm impressed by how the boats were performing the same. Basically, upwind and downwind, there is nothing in it. So we are up to some good racing in the next week. No, obviously there is no high fives. It's a long series. It's a very long series. You need to win 7 races. So, you know, we are just at the beginning of a hard fight. And it's going to be an hard fight, I know. Ben will recover. And I tell you, today he could have won 2 races as well. So it's just we have a small advantage now, but we have to think race by race and day by day. We cannot think about what happened yesterday.
So there you go. He just said exactly what we said. 1 race at a time. Every day is the same. We're
it's
experts.
interesting. I was just when we were watching that, when I was just thinking that this morning we were talking about the differences between the setups and things, and you know, today when I was watching, I was really thinking about their setup with the 2 helms, and maybe that it's in the light stuff where that really comes into its own, you know, because they can really lock in when and you know, they're not thinking as much about the maneuvers and they're just thinking about flying it on that tack.
It's really interesting.
Maybe that's one of their factors, yeah.
I feel like a fortune teller today, not only because when I was commentating on Clubhouse, I was about 10 seconds in front of everybody and what they were seeing. So I was literally telling the future. But somebody asked me honestly on Twitter the other day, who do I think is going to win? And I said, look, honestly, I think it will come down to the racetrack. If they're on course A, it'll be more moderate, less puffy because it's not going to be off the land. And I think that Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli will win because they're set up for boat handling, not for shifts. If they're on course C or E, when it's coming off the land, it'll be more shifty, and you've got to put it in favour of Giles because they have a dedicated breeze spotter. And that's just how they're set up. So today when they're on course A, you know, that's where I thought it was going to play. That said, I did think that given the first race was looking really light and shifty, maybe it still might play into Ineos's hands. So, you know, Luna Rossa, I think, sailed above what they were capable of doing in that first race because anybody who was going to win that race when it was marginal foiling conditions had to sail well to win that race. So then the second one was closer, which was great.
Yeah.
That's my unbiased
yeah, no, I like that. I like
strategical opinion. So, yeah, I think it will be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Firstly, what racetrack they're on. I do have the weather for you, Tor. I thought you might want to have a little bit of a look.
I did have a little look at it before. It looks like there's quite a lot more wind.
Quite a lot more. So we might actually pop that up right now. I'm just going to zoom it in. I do love Predict Wind, how they've got this set up, and you can see all of the racetracks. So this is the area where they were racing today. This is still on today's timing, but if we go to tomorrow, 1600, you can see that it's in the yellow pretty much the whole time they're racing, and then for race 2 it's still yellow, so quite a bit stronger than today. But see how course A is really not affected by the land, and you can look at either. I've just got the PWG and the PWA
especially
models
in this,
here.
well, in this wind direction.
Yeah. And then course C is affected by the land in this direction, and both course E's. So I think Ben actually said the same thing in the race write-up. I think I've got the text here. Let me have a look. He said at the press conference, the Italians did a good job today when they sailed just a bit faster and a bit better around the course. Credit to them. We have to go away and think about how we can get a bit more pace and look at the things we didn't get quite right. Luna Rossa are a great team, and it's pretty hard to get past them if they don't make many mistakes. Course A is a very different one compared to Course C, where the wind comes from the land and there are some shifts that allow more lead changes. Let's see what happens tomorrow. So I found that quite interesting that he'd had the exact same thought that I'd had. But that said, Sabello is working quite well for the Italians. They seem to have their boat handling down, their communications down. It's going to be all on again. I love it.
Yeah, it is. And this weekend's really going to tell us what's going on next week. But it's such a fun, like, Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's
massive
crazy.
week. I think it's the best.
Yeah.
It's my birthday week, so I'm like, yes,
Woo!
Give me good racing for my birthday week. This is what it's all about. I do love my birthday, and how it always falls on the JJs, like the 18-foot skiff worlds, or, you know, it's just in that perfect time of the year to celebrate racing. So we'll see what happens. But to everybody who's tuned in, it's great to have you with us. Thank you to Tor. Can everyone please give Tor a big clap, because she's working really hard for us in the mornings to make sure that we get the dock-offs or the crane ins or, you know, views from the village and all that sort of thing. So we're all really thankful for you bringing that to us when we can't be there. So thanks for your insights too.
I think it's so important. I was talking to one of the volunteers today, like saying, you know, most of our viewers aren't in New Zealand, and it's awesome that we can, especially people in lockdown and things, you know, we're getting them some entertainment and some inside feelings. And
at this point, I have to give a big shout out to all of the Sabre sailors that are in Melbourne. Their nationals and state titles was meant to start today, but we've gone into a semi-lockdown in Melbourne again, so that regatta has been cancelled, unfortunately. So I must make special mention to all of the Sabre sailors who might be watching, and we're thinking of you, and we're thinking of everybody home in the UK who's in lockdown too, watching Ineos, and anybody in Spain or in Italy, wherever you are in the world that's greatly affected. We've been quite lucky in Australia with how we've dealt with it, and obviously New Zealand with all those spectator fleets and crowds. COVID's basically been eliminated, so thank you for bringing us
oh my goodness,
sights from a place where we might rather be.
Yeah, and remind everyone that there's hope,
there's light
somewhere in the world, and yeah, hopefully it won't be too long until we can do this anywhere.
Indeed. So tomorrow, Tor will be back with us, hopefully around 8 a.m, 10 a.m. New Zealand time, 8 a.m. Australian time, so we can try and get all of you lovely Europeans the preview for the race day before you get some nap time, before you get up to watch the live racing in the middle of the night. We're going to do that specially for you, and then I will be live tweeting during the racing tomorrow, as well as live on Clubhouse again. If you need an invite, let me know. I'm going to get Tor an invite so she can see what it's all about. And make sure you search for the Sailing Club if you are already on Clubhouse. There's a sailing club, so we're talking about all things sailing in the Sailing Club, which is fantastic. And then we have these amazing reports of whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook. It's lovely to have you with us, and we'll try to keep all of the Instagrammers posted as well through our stories. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and we will bring our unbiased reports to you tomorrow.
And who have you got on tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have the amazing Katie Spithill will be with us after racing. She was sailing on Ammonite today, which is owned by Marcus Blackmore, a super yacht. She was out training, so don't feel sorry for her.
Cool.
Yeah. So she was out training.
The super yacht regatta's on this week, is it, or next week?
I think they're training for next week. So yeah, and I think they're going to do the Pittwater to Coffs race as well, which is on the 28th, I believe, of this month. I should look at my calendar. Stand by. Also, the J70 Nationals are in Melbourne. Lockdown pending. Hopefully I'll be there for those as well. The Brisbane to Gladstone's on Good Friday, and then I'll go straight down for the J70 Nationals, which will be fantastic. But let me have a quick look at when the Pittwater to Coffs race is on the 26th of March. So that will be great as well, that offshore race which heads north to warmer waters. That's what we like. So
yes,
lots of races coming up.
We'll know who the defender is of AC37 by then.
I know, everything sort of fits around the AC at the moment. It's just compartmentalised, which is hilarious.
Do not clash.
Exactly. I think just before we go, we might quickly... Oh, I've lost it. I'll bring up... I can do it now. The schedule for tomorrow, off the top of my head, 1600 hours just after is port entry to the UK, starboard entry for Luna Rossa, and then about 45 minutes after that, we'll have it the reverse. So port entry for Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli, and starboard entry for Ineos Team UK. Can they make it 4 from 4 wins, Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli, or will Ineos Team UK come back to level the scores, or will it be one each tomorrow? Who knows, but a little bit more breeze on the cards.
Interestingly, we were saying the other day, if this goes to 13 races, the only thing it's going to mean is that the winner of the Prada Cup and the challenger of the AC is going to be so strong going into the America's Cup.
Yeah.
So, everyone winning 6 races and then having one final race next Monday is not a bad thing for the team that wins it.
100%. This is what the Challenger Series is all about. We want to put forward the most savvy, the most strategic, the most tactical, the fastest challenger that we can, with the hope of beating the defender. And to all those Kiwis out there, this is the way it works. So maybe I'm being biased right now, but then in the Cup, we also want it to be a great race. So we'll switch suits pretty soon. But great to have you with us, Tor. And a shout out, Paul Stamps just said hi. thanks, Nick. We had 80 entries for the Sabre Regatta this weekend. So some of them are there already. So they're in lockdown in Victoria, away from their families and whatnot. So I know quite a few people have gotten stuck. So a big shout out to them. Yeah, not ideal, but fingers crossed it gets a little bit better for everybody. We'll be back with you tomorrow as close to 8 as we can. Enjoy your evening or your morning wherever you are, and happy Saturday. Happy Valentine's Day for tomorrow.
Happy Valentine's Day. And also Scotland are playing Wales at rugby today in the UK / overnight.
Overnight. Okay.
Overnight.
I'm learning Scottish.
yeah. It's a great accent.
I know. I want to. I'm a Douglas after all. I'm gonna become Scottish, I feel.
More Scottish than I am.
How can I do this? This is Nicole Douglas for Adventures of a Sailor Girl. I think that's a bit more Irish. It's terrible.
No, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
I'll work on that. We're going so we can have a wine. See you later, everybody. Lovely to have you with us.
Bye.
Tor Tomlinson
See you tomorrow.
And Nick Douglas for Adventures of a Sailor Girl. This is your AC Chat and Wrap.